PDAC 2020 at the Core Shack, and you see a lot of companies displaying their core here, and I get to run into Brent Cook of explorationinsights.com. Brent, how are you doing?
Good, real good, Sonny.
Doing well? Good, excellent. Well, thanks for doing the segment here, and just want to talk about what's been going on over the last few weeks. It's been a complete bloodbath in the market. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's gone to shit, eh?
Yes, it has. I think that's an understatement.
But I'll tell you what, on Friday, I was buying stocks, liquid, very liquid, large cap mining and exploration stocks. I think it's a good time to buy them.
Even if it's this too soon, it just happened.
I think so. I mean, I'm buying things. I'm getting things at 20 to 25% discount.
Of course.
And my view looking forward is that the precious metal prices are set to do well over the next 6, 12, to 2-year period. So I thought it was an opportunity. We'll find out in a couple of weeks if it was or not. But
of course.
Yeah. All these newsletter writers always buy when there's blood in the street, but no one does. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I guess you have your hand-picked selection of stocks where you're looking for value in the ground. I mean, we're going to go into this right now. Actually, in terms of your fatal flaw, you have a speech coming up today talking about several things, including science, talking about what to look for in terms of value in companies. I always love your commentary on the fatal flaw list, or what you look for fatal flaws. So what are some key things that you're looking at, and if it's changed at all in 2020 for looking at companies?
Well, still, I think we're going to see a surge of money into this sector, precious metals especially. With that's going to come a lot of sketchy characters. And so first thing I'm going to be talking about is how to recognize a setup in terms of who's got the cheap stock, how they're going to get it off, and who they're paying to publish material on this. And I show a chart so you can see the volume go up after a promotional news release, a quarter later up again, like that. So that's one thing I think people have to be wary of is, where's the information coming from, and who's giving you that information? How do they make their money? Are they selling into their promotion? Have they been given cheap stock? So I think that's going to be more and more important. So that's in general, and that fits in with share structure.
Right.
You want to have a decent share structure and know who owns the stock and know what price they paid for it.
Right.
And how likely they are to stay or go.
Right.
So that's probably number one to look at. After that, it comes down to the rocks.
On the rocks.
Yeah.
And is anything that's like kind of swaying you to certain areas? Because I've asked this question to a few people, a few of the interviews already. I don't know if it makes sense, but this coronavirus is spreading like wildfire, and we'll see how it goes, how it gets contained. But there's some jurisdictions a lot of these properties are on, right? So does that make any sense in terms of your decision-making process, or is that kind of a moot point where it doesn't really matter?
No, it's not a big issue for us. I mean, we own both Irving Resources and Japan Gold, who are active in Hokkaido, which has been shut down completely because of this virus.
Right. Yeah.
But we're looking. This if they make a discovery, an economic deposit, we're looking 5-10 years down the road.
Right.
So this is it's a hurdle, potentially an opportunity. That's how I look at it.
Interesting.
I'm not really thinking that much about it.
Okay. Fair enough. That's good. In terms of the producers, we've seen in the last few years, before 2008, or come up 2008, before the correction, it was all about ounces. Now we're back. Now we're in 2020, 10 years later, pretty much, and now they've tried to re-rate their value for shareholders, where they've looked on M&A activity, divesting core assets, non-core assets, controlling the all-in sustaining costs, and what's interesting is the last quarter, the last annual results, you're seeing that they've controlled and done so much to control the balance sheet to make sure it's nice and healthy, but production hasn't really changed. You've seen an increase, yes, but it's been relatively flat, actually. So what are your thoughts on that going forward? Is this to persist, or
I hope so. I think the problem with the industry's had is that, particularly the gold industry, is there has in the past there's been a push by large shareholders, institutions and such, just ounces. And you see what's happened is they bought all these marginal ounces, and they're losing money, they're not working. Now they're getting rid of those ounces, trying to focus in on high grade or high margin deposits, but doing that, it's hard to grow. So you've seen Barrick and Newmont both merge with other companies, they need to get they want to get the size, the scale that they will interest generalists into the sector. So it's a two-pronged thing. They can't grow organically per se.
Right. Yeah.
They need to merge with other big companies to get the investors, but that doesn't really add new discoveries.
Right.
And that's the key in my point. That's what Joe and I do, and
so
you
the
do
pie
as well.
hasn't changed.
No,
It's
the
pretty
pie
much
is the
the
same.
same, yeah.
It's just the value of the little piece of pie that is going to represent 250 to half a million ounces a year.
Right.
That's gotten a lot more valuable if someone can find that.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, the pie hasn't changed, but the value of that same pie has gotten more valuable because there's not many new discoveries. Okay,
Yeah.
so then what's the issue in our industry that's preventing those new discoveries? I mean, obviously it's a lack of new capital from the midtiers and majors prior to the recession, where there's a lot of money coming for new greenfields exploration. But I mean, what are your thoughts? I guess.
I think it's more fundamental than that.
Okay.
We've covered most of the world. What we can see from the surface, we're walking across it, satellite imagery, et cetera, et cetera. So the new deposits we're going to find are going to be undercover.
Right.
That's going to take a lot more money in terms of drilling, geophysics. If you make a discovery, it's going to take a lot more money than technical studies, the build out, et cetera, et cetera. So let's, on average, for every 10 1-gram deposits, the Earth makes 1 2.5 gram deposit.
Right. Yeah.
So we're still going to find 10 1-gram deposits, but if they're under 200-300 meters of cover, they're not economic.
Right.
So we're going to find a lot more low grade, but finding that one high grade is going to be a lot more expensive. Mm-hmm. And again, that makes it that much more valuable.
Right. Interesting. So what are there any things that the mining industry is doing to make, for example, you're hearing a lot of new AI being evolved now to find new discoveries, this and that, to kind of get the pipeline moving much, much faster so we have more new discoveries. I mean, not to say there hasn't been any new discoveries at all. I mean, there has.
Oh,
but,
yeah, there have been.
I guess there hasn't been that elephant-sized, high-grade discoveries that you used to see years ago. I mean, so do those kind of tools help?
Sort of. I mean, AI is good if you're in a district with lots and lots of data.
Right, yeah.
But once you get out, it still comes down to good, solid science, geology, testing conceptual ideas, and having the persistence to, and which means the cash,
right,
to keep going at something if it's working. But the problem that happens is a lot of these companies don't know when to quit.
Right.
So there's a point that comes where a lot of money is wasted on projects that you should walk away. You got to have a go no go point, and that's stick with it.
Right.
And that doesn't happen that often either.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, so then in 2020, bull or bear?
I think the gold price is set to do pretty well.
Okay. Outlook? Any specific?
In terms of
its price?
I think the general market is heading south.
Yeah, of course.
I think the U.S. is screwed.
Yeah.
U.S. dollar's in trouble.
Yeah.
It does. It doesn't look that good in terms of global what's happening around the globe.
Of course. There's so many things happening at once. The U.S. election, now the Fed and the central bank's looking to probably cut a rate again, quarter business point, half a point, more QE, more likely, more accommodative measures, whatever it takes to keep the global economy going with some growth. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in the next. But hopefully, gold price and the precious metals price overall, we will benefit from it. So
flip a coin.
Yeah, flip a coin or silver coin. Okay, so any final comments, Brent?
Actually, come to our website, explorationinsights.com. Joe Mazumder is writing it. He's in charge now. A lot of good information there, and I think this is a good time to get into this sector, but you need to do proper due diligence.
Excellent, great. Thank you so much, Brent, for being on the segment. If you want to have any more questions for Brent, explorationinsights.com. We'll put a link in the description below, and you can talk directly to Brent or Joe and find out more about the newsletter as well. Perfect. Thanks, Brent.
Cheers.